Thank you very much. I am from Deloitte Tohmatsu. Thank you very much. I am Nagai. This is about the new environmental horizon of art pioneered by tech. We focus on Web 3.0 about information technology, and also AI is evolving, and what the society will become of that. And with looking at that in the art world, what is going to happen, and in this ACK place like it, this would allow us to have a contact with the audience and the general public, and how those views will change. This will be the topic of the discussion. Why Deloitte Tohmatsu is here? That may be the question I would like to first answer. We have Art and Finance Group that was founded from 5 years ago, and we have some advisory activities. Deloitte Tohmatsu is very famous for accounting company, but in addition to that, we have 12,000 people, 1,200 people or so who work as professionals, and then they offer various different kind of advice to different fields. Art is one of them, as you can see here. For businesses and as well as for individual people, we offer advice. And in particular, in the art business, for business clients, what we do is, for example, to make art a business, what should be done? We offer advice for that, and also using art, for example, the real estate development or the manufacturing and the product development, the customers in this field, how they can use art to reinforce their business. This is another type of advice we give them. And so using art, they grow a business. And what is the necessary thing to do that? In advising this field, beyond ACK, the ICT, and also the people's emotions and feelings and social change, we needed to learn a lot about this field as well. So here today, rather than explaining our conclusions of these initiatives, the industries around art, we take things from that perspective, how the world come to in our sight. We would like to discuss these processes with the other members on the stage. That is the primary objective of having this. But first and foremost, why Web 3.0? Why is it important? It is just about the technological evolution, or is it going to change the society? Well, this is a recap so that we can be aligned. From the latter half of the 1990s, the internet became pervasive in society. And earlier, what happened was that, well, information available on the internet will be captured when it becomes necessary. So it was very simple. And from mid-2000, the social media became very popular, and internet contents were developed together by many people. But this was also quite simple from afar. Well, this content is very important. And what about this idea? People expressed like. And so more recently, there may be a little additional element to it, but there are some interesting things, and those will be supported by other users or not. So it was simple. And then also this was done under the umbrella of major businesses. So information developers and producers didn't have the freedom to operate this information. So it was more like a centralized scheme. Like Facebook and Google, these major companies owned these as their assets. Now, from the end of the 2010s, blockchain came into the picture with an advancement of technologies. There may be a lot of point of views, but those who created information owned this information and used it in their favorite ways. And there are the rules with a very transparent rules. These informations were handled among people. This may sound very complicated, but what kind of the technology behind it is that by doing something, what can be obtained? Supporting and expressing like beyond the financial terms, what is going to be given if you take this action and that action. This kind of rules and contract can be closed very simply. And then if you want the other people to want to do something, and then that could also be fulfilled. And the people in a totally different positions can meet together now simply. And this leads them to come to the decision making in a very democratized way. With high transparency, they can determine the direction of their small communities. And then here, the large companies' desire may not be reflected so well in this scheme. And then now the new types of people encounter with each other, and then when they develop some promises and rules, if it is very costly, that will be the problem. But now it can be quite simple, and following the rules, we don't have to worry about other people to break the rules in this coming society. If this come to pass, this has a potential to dramatically change the society. But this is, after all, potential. Whether are we going to make this difference in society, that is the key question here. So this is the first point I would like to have a discussion. That said, we may be able to change, but are we really changing ourselves? In relation to that, this is also important. In blockchain technology, this is just a part of them. We have NFT. For intangible assets and properties, this gives a sense of ownership with this technology or services. And this became viral. And from 2017 through 2020, it became a boom. But what is the important form in the internet? Well, now we have the generative AI coming into the picture, and the NFT is put on a secondary burner, back burners. And then if we look back, currently the Web3 or NFT, well, whether it will peaking or it has peaked, this is what we expect. So probably in 2 years or 3 years from now, there may be some time of disillusionment, and this will lose momentum for some time. But after that, there is a potential of change. And then is that change coming? Really, that is a question. The smart context and the token, by utilizing these technologies, various services will be made available. And then this may change our society. In 2025, 2026 or 7, once again, in our society, these will become the essential infrastructure that will bring some major change in society. If that really happens, we have to be prepared for that, because otherwise it will be a little too late. That is why we have this talk today.
And not only this time, but starting from this year, so the 21st Century Museum staff members, together with them, we have been discussing this matter. So now talking about the technology, another perspective that we need to have is that when it comes to art, we would like to talk about the business where we are. What kind of the service is requested when it comes to the business in the field of art? So if you were to take a look at also the technology in this context, I may say that among all the products that you see in the shelf, the highest level of quality, and then greater level of the price, and with a greater evaluation. So in other words, when you have the artwork on the shelves altogether, maybe in the upstream, we have to think about how this particular artwork is generated. I think consumers are looking at that, the origin of the artwork, from not only the downward, but the upstream, the stream perspective, and then also incorporating that the consumers are selecting the artwork. I think that there is a shift in terms of the perspective, looking at the artwork. So excellent in terms of culture and art, putting aside the phrase that we use, but the society, or in the field of the marketing, if you are to take a close look at them, it is true that this particular product is so unique and the only one in the world, and then who is generating something like this? And that person is so unique maybe, and then you as a consumer having that product in your hand, thinking about the world itself. Maybe the world is connected with the ancient age. Maybe in terms of the society, you are providing some kind of agenda through this product, and then the product is generated with that kind of idea. So that's how the appeal can be made for certain product or the artwork. I think that's the kind of thing is already happening in a society. Before, it was not the case, because those people who are so vividly sense that kind of a value, and very difficult to actually verbalize all of these things. That's what we have been thinking. But now the situation has changed so much nowadays when it comes to the verbalization. Now, talking about the 21st Century Museum, starting from this month, they have a DX Planet exhibition. I would like to just show you the pictures. Technology is something to do with the actual design, architectural design. You need to have some training in order to come up with this actual design. But maybe you just draw something simple, and then with the technology, you can actually realize that in the actual form. Another example, technology and the advancement can enable all these ideas instantly without having the technical training. So Frankenstein, the novel, is read by the ChatGPT, and as a population, the ChatGPT incorporate all the data, and then this the sense of the Frankenstein novel, they come up with this idea of the fashions. So then you can start to see this kind of innovation. Something like this can be simply generated, and then a concept and ideas can be visualized and can be put into writing. Those things can be done very simple nowadays, and this is something that I would like to discuss with all of you. And this is a hypothetical idea, multiverse versus universe. So if you have a different sense of value, and then people are now creating the community with the different kinds of ideas, come up with this kind of a product, I ask for your cooperation, and you will get this benefit out of this. And this is the kind of direction that we go, and that discussion takes place, and decision can be made very easily. So small size communities can be generated so easily, and then that's how the society can be. That's a hypothetical idea, and I feel very into it. It's a nice way of thinking when we look at the society to come. Micro level, in a small community, the members in a community, you come up with a product, maybe generate a service as an economic activities, but that's peer, colleagues. In a small community, you will have a discussion among them, and then you can make a contribution to the community, and then you get a reward in a the diplomatic and fair manner. So you will have all these small communities, and then among the communities, there is a bond created in that society. And it used to be such a community, and all of a sudden that community will generate so much assets at the end of the day. So among the communities, new ways of synergy effect can be seen, can be anticipated. And this is the last slide for my presentation. So if those things happen, well, you know, you have a person A, B, C, D, and it was very tough to get to know each other. It takes time to decide the rules. That's one thing. And then try to comply with the rules. Maybe you have an implicit agreement, but it's very difficult to realize it. So leader role is regarded very difficult. But if that process can be regarded simple, maybe with this kind of a community formation, you don't have to have the big leaders anymore. But rather than that big leaders, maybe conceptors, so to speak, can be needed. You come out and say that I want to do this, and in order to do this, what kind of jobs are necessary, and how the benefit at the end of the day can be allocated and shared among the members, maybe the concept, the thinkers, and how much the technology can be used, combination with, technology and promoting the technology. So in other words, the people in such a society can be called different from the conventionally way of the society. So this is how much I came up with in my thinking. But Deloitte, the group presentation is over now. And now Yamamine-san and also Murata-san can share their views, and then we can have a discussion later. Yamamine-san, please, would you please begin your presentation? Thank you very much. As I listened to the presentation, now they actually came up with many questions, but let me just introduce myself. I am Junya Yamamine. I'm a curator, and also recently I'm a producer as well. So in my career, the cultural affair, agency, media, art fair, festival, Tokyo, photograph, music, art museums, and the public art as well. In the alternative space in Roppongi, with this startup company called Akatsuki, I worked for the projects, and then performing art, public art, I was been involved. And then in the post-internet age, post-internet culture scene, top artists were invited to this particular event. And also within the field of media art, I got the master. So as the curator, I've been involved with the different kinds of art projects. So creating community and working together with the collectors and the company people, different types of people come together, and I came up with a project of creating a space for meeting. And one is NFT marketplace in London. There was some joint project as well. So in Tokyo as well.
So it was a big program of Tokyo Gendai. Together with the contemporary artist, we had this event. So those are the examples of my works or projects. I'm also working as an ambassador of this group. At also Taiwan International Museum, I was asked to use technology in the exhibition. And after the pandemic, I was asked to think about the damage we are imposing on the planet and how human beings and the earth can work together. That was the theme of this project. So that was my self-introduction. Now let me talk about new soil as a seed. This is about what I want to do, what I aspire to do in relation to technology going forward. I think this has a very high conformity with what I've just talked about. This is about changing or transforming the society from focus on efficiency and economic productivity to the human emotions and well-being in our economy. The question is how to monetize the activities which are related to human emotion and well-being. The motivation came from the fact that there are many things in the world which cannot be put into words. And through art, we can identify the emotions that cannot be put into words. However, when I'm involved in companies and the government, we realize that there are many things that we can measure without any numbers, because what we have to measure fall out of those numerical measurements. That's the background of what I do, what I want to do. People with high efficiency and economic productivity may be replaced by AI in the coming days. In that new world, we have to revisit the value of emotion and also experience. Now we have indicator of well-being. I think that's related to the transformation we are witnessing now. And there are funds in the US related to the well-being. So how we can introduce that concept in Japan is the question. And I think one thing is the connectivity with AI. I want to come up with the impact evaluation. I want to come up with a methodology to measure the impact. That kind of the activities related to well-being of the people or the environmental protection, and also projects related to human emotions. They may be far away. They may be the activities far away from economic activities or productivity. However, there are many people who benefit from those activities which cannot be monetized. So those people who are benefiting from those activities, I want to measure the benefits that people are receiving so that we can return the profit to them. This is not limited to art, but also it can be related to cleaning of the cities or festivals, local festivals. They may be not productive in terms of the economy, but they are creating value, and it's only natural that we repay that benefit. So that's the beginning of the entire of all this. The methodology is to come up with the methodology to measure the social value of well-being and sustainability. The companies and governments who are benefiting from those activities have to be measured, and we have to calculate what kind of benefit or they are receiving, so that we can create a system which can repay their benefit. That's the system I want to create. By having that system in place, we may be able to evaluate those things quantitatively. That may bring about change. When I talk to data scientists, they say that art is something away from economic productivity, but economic productivity is necessary for us to continue our activity. So we have to convince the people. The other day, there was a performing arts festival in Edinburgh. In Edinburgh, the festival industry was bigger than the golf industry, according to their calculations. So people are paying a lot of attention to this now. In the society, economic rationale is seeked. In that society, we have to think about how we can return the benefit. So that's the society I want to create. And this applies not only to art, this also applies to prevention of diseases. This is a concept in the area of mental diseases, activities related to disease prevention or garbage picking activities in the cities. Also, the recovery of the nature or protection of the tangible and intangible properties. If we can maintain or sustain those activities, we can create new paradigm in terms of the economy and the art. That's what I want to work with. Thank you very much. Before going to Murata-san, let me ask one question. Basically, sometimes it's difficult to monetize those activities. However, still there are benefits, so we have to recognize those benefits and evaluate them, appreciate them. And not only time access, but also there are various layers to it. The primary activity may be to go to the art festival and enjoy the arts. And those visitors may spread the benefit to the people who didn't go to the art festival. So short term, mid term, and long term, we have to evaluate the benefit of those art festivals. And that's a very complicated process that we have to get the supports from the machines. So now I have a question to Yamamine-san as a curator. Artists themselves, they capture the transformation of the society to come up with their own artwork. But on the other hand, maybe this is just a byproduct of their activities, but they are getting supports from the society, and they also have to monetize their activities. In that sense, we have to think about the economic efficiency, and also they have to think about what kind of implications they have by producing their arts. If we have that kind of infrastructure, do we have to see the change of the responsibility or the jobs of the artists? At the British Council, in the context of art and technology, they invited many people and I introduced them for 1 week. At that time, the system between Japan and the UK was different, and British people admired Japan because we are free to experiment many things, and there is no evaluation after that evaluation. And I think that person was right. Somebody says culture is very important, and then the culture can get budget. But as the time goes, people forget why they started that projects in the first place, and there was no evaluation at all. And in order to so because of that downside, I value the UK system more. And what they said there are many items that you have to fulfill. So they are creating arts to fulfill those items.
So that's one point. And if that's the case, and then to that, to prevent that from happening, we needed to have some preparation. However, in Japan, we haven't reached that point. Okay, once again, question to you. Then up until now, well, whether to monetize or not, that was the line. And then the value people didn't consider to monetize was used by the artist. However, that part should also be a part of the new monetization idea, and then how the artist defined may become different. Yes, then the artist should be engaged in something that is easier to evaluate in terms of monetary terms. Okay, then next to Murata, Mr. Murata. Okay, thank you very much. Well, already somewhat similar to conclusion was reached, but in the context, I have a bit different the career. I work for Daimaru Matsuzakaya in charge of art. I studied the architect, and then as the interior designer and the directors, I started my career. I had the installation with Raizuma at Shinsaibashi Daimaru Store. And we did a re-architecture. It's at a 50 meter in size. It's if the volleys is still alive, and then what kind of future will be presented together with us, and how we can make something that can last for 100 years. That is something we do. Another example is with NYAW. Well, on the facade of at the department store, there are the painting of birds, and back then Boris, an architect, had a commission to have the phoenix, the sculpture, but from some reason they became peacock. And if Boris is still alive, again, if they come up with a phoenix, who will be commissioned and what will be like? From that perspective, we asked Kohei Nawa in the context of Oriental. We tried to build the Ho-Oh, the Oriental Phoenix. So we came up with this, and then at the Meiji shrines, this again flew away, and the artwork is beyond the company's regular business to create something. So this is an important project. So these are some of the things I have done. And now the media and art fair and incubation, I do these three things. Now on Web3 and the how to evaluate the values, this is related to those topics. I work for a department store, but I am so far away from the market. And how can I continue my initiative? When I think about it as a company, how the circulation between academic and the market can be kept, that is important, because if it is about just a short-term evaluation, we tend to focus on something that can sell. And that is how the companies will generally think. And then we cannot come up with anything that will touch our hearts and minds. We would like to avoid that at any way. So we want to keep the sustainable relationships with artworks and artists. That is what I explore. And in the case like this, well, for example, installation, typically companies cannot be engaged in it because it's difficult to sell, but the company is intervened in that, and we follow and support the production, explore the potential of new value creation. With Yamamine-san, I am doing ladder project now by Daimaru Matsuzakaya. This is a tour type of installation, and eventually, well, at the ACK, we have an exhibition, and eventually we want to bring this to museum, the academia place, so that these can be kept forever there. The booth is right across, so after this talk, please visit the booth. And roughly speaking, the artists and the companies are engaged in the creation. Typically, the focuses are linearly on market. However, first, in the context of academia, how these artworks are evaluated, we try to elucidate that. So this is our first POC project. Without an impact from market, how can we co-create unique values? This initiative is supported by Yamamichi-san. And then this is a question to you. By the intervening of tech, the new thing will be created. And I learned a lot on this element today. And for example, when we develop installation with the co-creation, and then we want to tour this in many places, on those occasions, how can value be evaluated, and how are we going to use tech? And then some of the things will be distributed ownership, and what is the necessary technology to have the contact with the clients. In different contexts, is there any technology that we can return the created values into company activities? Is there any way to get some benefit or the values beyond money, monetization? Technology may be able to play a certain role in this end. So these are the questions for you. And one last thing, for the company to be engaged in art sustainably, well, the output looks alike without creating diverse values. This is a problem. So when to start a project and continue the project, we needed to have a clear understanding and a positioning of the company, which requires the understanding of different stakeholders. With the intervention of tech, it may be easier for us to continue art. Is there any the assessment or the evaluation access to quantitate these things? That is another question. And can we visualize the value that the company will support the art fair and art festivals? If there are any quantification method, I would like to know more about them from you. Thank you very much. I end here. Thank you. Okay, I also have lots of questions, and Murata-san posed the questions as well, so it may be a bit difficult to handle all of them. So while we answer or to questions, still I want to have additional question to Murata-san. So can you back up by 2 slides? The one before this, okay? The technology to turn the activities into values. Well, this may sound distant from you, but here it says a corporate value. But corporate value are twofold. One is how much you make in terms of money now, and also the second is how big that the profit is going to become in the future. Today, the Japanese corporate values are considered very low, and it is making a lot of fuss. But many major companies are increasing their profit. So what is missing is the possibility of growing in the future. That part, Japanese companies are evaluated very low. These company activities are supported by Gen Z, but these assessment and evaluations are not monetized enough and quickly. That's why the future evaluation is kept very low. That is a problem for Japanese companies. And then, in my opinion, and also question is that the values which fall through the cracks, the corporate values and economic value, they come back as a return in the future. We are not talking about these possibilities well enough, so that missing link can be solved with the power of tech. You are doing ladder project, and then in that, today's monetary value and the future's monetary value, both of them are taken into account. So for you, which is more important? This is one question. And how much money are you making? How much are you going to make money? Something beyond that should also be emphasized. This is the perennial discussion with our clients. At the workplace, many people have a strong sense of fulfilling. These are supported greatly sometimes, or the employees are a group of very interesting people. These are wonderful things. However, they are not translated into today's money or future's profit. Still, that may be okay if the companies are supported greatly. So this is what I have in my mind in the context. So, what do you think? And then, what do you think about the ladder project? For the ladder project, which is bigger, now or the future?
So you're talking about the comparison between two. What are the two? Yes, cash and then the future expansion. Future expansion, of course. So we're not thinking about the current the scheme of generating profit. In other words, as Daimaru Matsuzakaya, as thinking about supporting, we would like to provide the experience, coordinated experience, and that lead to the branding of our company, Daimaru, and then also increasing the corporate value, like much value generated. And the visualization is not yet done. Verbally, not enough explanation has been made yet. So that's something that we need to change. Then you can come up with more proposals. Now, as you mentioned, that when it comes to the future, because that the profit is going to go up, you want to go do this and that. But I think you are going beyond that to get a supporter. Yes, that's what we've been discussing with our customers. So people are thinking about it, but maybe top management may not be the case. Yes. Now, let me just share with you how my presentation was made. International Art Festival, I've been involved. And then we asked I've been asked to come up with the some phrases like commissioned by some and some. Like banking or some financial institutions come up with this way. And now then I understand that this is how things are done so that their awareness level is going to go up in the world. So paying money for it, and video, umbrella or art angels in the UK. So you do the fundraising. There are such groups and association, and also Dutch project. The rich collectors, they come together and they check and support the artwork in the Biennale in the world, supporting the artists that can voice out these people's opinions. So having this kind of a process, the art will get the presence in the society. Well, economy not so bad, but art is there. For example, in France, economy. From economy, the culture generate? No, that's not the case. Vice versa. Actually, because of the art, the local economy is being revitalized. So this the reverse momentum is needed. So with that in mind, one thing, CV. There's one CV, and that's one important index evaluating the artwork. So the list of the exhibition that the person is exhibiting, and we have those CV, so to speak. And then in a modern art, we have that kind of a list. So Biennale Foundation, for example, the artists are registered, and basically their values are secured and established. Such communities there, and in that community, the institutional experiences, how that is included in a CV. And there are two things, and I showed, for example, two things. And market-wise, this is a particular Japanese artist, and there is no historical experience. But on the other hand, there's an artist. Look at the CV, this particular artist, and you can see the entire, recognize the artist, and we recognize that person as an international artist. So there's a difference in terms of a CV. So by looking at them, you know that how valuable that they can be remained in the history of art. You may not have that kind of experience, but there are some Japanese artists living in New York, for example, and you have some, artists maybe lending money from the banks, we don't know, but there are some artists who are creating the value. There are some differences in terms of the value of the art. We have to take a closer look at them. There are some non-specialized art. You see, the museum come up with a certain way of evaluation. They have their own way, and that value can be hindered, when it comes to the kimono producers. And it's of course, I'm sorry to discuss this way, but when it comes to the effectiveness and efficiency way of doing things by the companies, but of course we have been pursuing the authentic the sense when we explore our department stores. We have gone through some change nowadays. So this time we have this new project, how this latter project can be continuous, and how we can start up the new kind of a project into the future, and that will impact us in terms of the evaluation of us in the society. We need to really learn a lot as we move forward. So there are some outside stakeholders. Company have a different stakeholders. So going beyond the companies, I would like to see the society can go into this kind of activities. But there are some things that you can do being part of the company. And I would like to hear from these two speakers responding to this question. Thank you very much for your comment. Conclusive manner, I would like to say multifaceted dimension is a key word, responding to a question. When it comes to the corporate value, what is the profit now and how expansion that you expect into the future? But you see, when you encounter a difficult situation, economic-wise, you can be happier, you can be blessed because of this. Maybe if that can be regarded as an incentive, which can be measured qualitatively, of course, that is my work, part of my work. I think it's possible to quantify the evaluation, which is qualitative, utilizing technology. So our work or the company, I think we are going into this era of evaluating them properly. I think the supporters have to understand how to evaluate them structurally. We only looked at the profit and how much profit it is going to make in the future. That was quite a simple before, but now things are now changing. The society has a different way of viewing things and evaluating things. Maybe this measure, some kind of a measure is necessary for us to do that. It's very difficult to respond, to be honest. And I think we need to discuss more clearly, trying to figure out all this complex question. When it comes to the business or creating the framework of business, there's something plus alpha. In other words, to come up with a project and then let them experience the project. I'm on this side, needing to do that. So it is not a linear, rather than the linear process, thinking that if this is here, something next will follow. But not only that, experience, hands-on experience matters. Then you start to feel that that's truly valuable. And why not realize or embody it? And then you need to have peers in order to do that. But of course, there are only limited number of people who can be there to do that. Maybe 100, 500 people. But with this technology in the internet, only the few letters of the words can make people gather. But of course, hands-on experience matters maybe more. And there are something that the curator need to do. I mean, artists can generate something, but through what kind of a context, how you can reiterate the story.
And depending on how you tell the story, you can secure the freedom of the artists. And then you can allow the wider population to experience the art. This may be not related to the art, but recently climate change and diversity, those are main agenda in the society. What's going on in Europe is that in each sector around those themes, they are discussing what is missing and what has to be done and where they have to make investment. And that's what investors are thinking in Europe. It may be so that in Japan as well, or outside of Europe as well, we may have to think about what's missing in our own field or what we have to value going forward. What we need to have outside of economic productivity. In the process of thinking about that, when we face the field of Yamamine-san, you may give us advices on where we should go, where we should invest, or where should provide support. And that kind of good circulation may happen, and that may be the beginning point of understanding with each other, yes, because everything is connected. We have 3 minutes left. We can entertain 1 or 2 questions from the floor. Do you have any questions? Thank you for your presentations. I have 2 questions. The first one may not be question, but it's about Web3. This is often discussed as a new technology. I study about Africa and ethnic groups in Africa is related to the values that we have, like respecting each individual person. Not only advanced technology, but also the natural community structure, original community structure. Have you ever paid attention to those things? My second question, you talked about learning from experience. In order to convey the value of the art, you said that learning from experience is very important. If you can elaborate on that and what kind of specific program we can have. About the second question, there is a project display over there. Please go and take a look at that example. If I could, not only in Japan, but also in overseas as well, I would like to see I would like to bring many Japanese people to large-scale art fairs overseas. Not only commercialization-based, but installation-based art fairs. I want to bring people. We need access. Accessibility is one key. To achieve that, we are trying to get support from various people so that many people can get access to those kinds of art fair and have a rich experience. That's one thing I'm working on. The second question, you talked about many small ethnic groups. There are blood connections amongst them, and there are emotions or connections amongst them. What kind of connections they have and how they perceive themselves is the question. So in that context, what's interesting about Web3 is that this is created in the concept of P2P. It's not centralized. It has a mesh structure or networking structure or web structure. And in that world, we can recover the connection of or the network of the people which was destroyed by the centralized system. By restoring that kind of connection, we often talk about communes or commons. We often talk about going back to communes and communities, but it's not about going back to the past, because it can be developed into many different ways, both vertically and horizontally, by completely transforming how the villages exist. We can reproduce the value. I think that's the fundamental difference between Web3 and village kind of community. The Web3 research is something I've been engaged in. There are places like communes, or there are research going on about if one particular community can be expanded by inviting experts. Now it's time to close. Rather than coming up with a conclusion, we just wanted to share the process of our thinking. That was the purpose of this talk. I hope that you enjoyed our talk, and we would like to continue this kind of activities at the 21st Century Museum. We have a plan to have this kind of talk events. We have a other project next door. The venue is not here alone, we have a Hotel Bijou as a satellite venue at Kawaramachi area. There we are exhibiting Tamayama-san's piece. And there is also ARToVILLA market going on. This is a great opportunity to go visit those places as well. And tonight, starting from 7 o'clock, we'll have Fab Cafe Curator. We will have a reception. We would like to continue our dialogue there. That's around Kawaramochi Gojo area. I hope that you do visit that site as well. Thank you very much. This concludes this talk.